when this news comes out that Anthem has purchased the company, they don't own 100% of it. As it's written in the Observer, Anthem's going to own 85% of it. 10% will be retained by Aerolux and 5% by Dixie Carter. Before we get to Dixie, we've heard the name. I think it's a marketing company in Brentwood, but I don't know much about it. What can you tell us about Aerolux?
Marketing and production company based in Brentwood. Jason Brown, the owner at the time, Ron and Don Harris were affiliated with those guys. And yeah, so basically a production house was their role. Now, what was interesting is that, that ownership split. Well, what's your perception of that ownership split? Because maybe I'm assuming incorrectly. What's your perception, or what do you think the world's perception was of that ownership split? Oh boy,
I think Aerolux at 10% is probably thinking, hey, this will be a way to guarantee future business and maybe, hang on to something that we thought we had a bigger piece of. I don't know. But the Dixie thing at 5% feels a little bit like vanity, maybe. Like at 5%, who cares? This is, I don't mean to diminish it. But you ever see one of those episodes of Shark Tank where they come in and they offer the sharks 3% of their company? Yeah. It's like, who gets excited about 3% of anything? Well, sort of the same thing here. Who gets excited about 5% of anything? I don't know what the profits were in 2016, but saying, well, I'm getting 5% of those.
Yeah. And look, I'm not going to get into all the details, because I still, even with great recall at times and sometimes horrible recall, Conrad, look, Aerolux and Dixie it's all about debt load. We're going to reduce. Yeah, that's all that is. There was no profits.
No. And I mean, at that point, we're talking about, can we try to make some of these folks as whole as we can? And then they retain a little bit of ownership. But essentially, the press release is going to let everybody know that Dixie is resigning from her position as chairman of Impact Ventures, but she's still going to be involved. Talk to me a little bit about the Dixie piece. When you're saying who is the team, and you sort of gave us the lowdown on Big. What were you told would be Dixie's role at all?
And see, what's weird is when I read the research, you talk about something that I totally forgot about, because after the initial conversation, and I had that straight up with Ed, I personally, look, I can coexist, whatever you got to do. You guys saved Anthem. And again, I didn't then, and I didn't now completely understand the Corrigan piece, but regardless, it's yours now. And you did what you had to do. So you have obviously existing relationships with Aerolux, with Dixie, with Corrigan. That's yours. But moving forward, as far as decision makers in the room that have the decision-making power, that's very important to me. Because the branding here of GFW and the content and what we're headed for, and the Fox Sports Holding deal is one thing, but just the day-to-day operations, I don't want to fight City Hall anymore. I did that for a lot of years, and there's nothing good that comes from that. And they assured me we are going to handle that. In a release, I can remember saying that. I'm like, well, how's all that work? And he goes, financially, that was done October or whenever it was, when they funded that last deal, that they took over then. It was theirs. They were the ones writing the checks, and it was theirs. So there wasn't really an equation of Dixie in it.